Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Abraham Lincoln wheat penny coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we've got something truly exciting to talk about. If you think that old pennies are just pocket change, think again. We're diving deep into one particular coin that has stunned the numismatic world, the United States 1-cent coin from 1954. While this may seem like just another vintage penny, it has an incredible backstory and an astonishing value that might surprise you. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this little coin is worth far more than its face value. Now, let's take a step back and consider the significance of the 1954 penny in the context of American history. The 1950s were a time of remarkable growth and change in the United States. The country was still in the post-World War II boom, experiencing an economic upswing. But while the economy was thriving, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing millions of pennies, many of which were made with copper, the material that gave them their distinctive reddish hue. At first glance, the 1954 penny might not look like much. It's a standard wheat cent, with the famous, "In God We Trust," inscription and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But don't be fooled by its common appearance. What makes this coin so extraordinary isn't just its age, but the extremely limited number of these coins that were minted in near-perfect condition. During the 1950s, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies, and most of them were widely circulated, spending decades in people's pockets and wallets. Over time, many coins suffered wear and tear, losing their luster and detail. But a few lucky 1954 pennies managed to escape the harshness of circulation, remaining in pristine, uncirculated condition. And those coins, well, they're something special. So, what exactly makes the 1954 penny from the United States so valuable? The answer lies in rarity and condition. There are a handful of these coins that have been preserved in such perfect condition that they are now considered gem-quality specimens. These coins are graded using a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being the highest grade possible. Coins with a grade of 65 or higher are considered outstanding, and anything above that is practically a work of art. But it's not just about high grades, there are some unique variants that further increase the value of these pennies. One of the most sought-after versions of the 1954 penny comes with a mint mark, a small letter indicating where the coin was produced. In this case, the D mint mark signifies that the penny was minted in Denver, while the S mint mark was used for pennies made in San Francisco. Of course, the rarer the mint mark, the more valuable the coin, and then there's the famous 1954 penny error coin. Error coins are highly prized in the world of numismatics, as they are unique and often the result of rare mistakes made during the minting process. A small mistake, like an off-center strike or a double die, can cause the value of a coin to skyrocket. In fact, there have been instances where 1954 pennies with these types of errors have fetched astronomical prices at auction. Now, you're probably wondering, how much could one of these remarkable pennies actually be worth? Well, let's get to the exciting part, the price. While most 1954 pennies might only be worth a few cents in average condition, if you happen to find one in gem quality or with a rare mint error, you could be holding a coin worth a lot more than you ever imagined. In fact, one of the most coveted specimens, a 1954 penny in flawless condition, has been sold for an unbelievable sum. Are you ready for it? This rare gem fetched $85,000. That's right, $85,000 for a single penny. It's hard to believe that something as small as a 1954 1-cent coin could be worth so much, but that's the magic of rare and well-preserved numismatic treasures. If you happen to stumble upon one of these rare pennies in your collection or in circulation, it could change your life. So, if you're out there hunting for rare coins, make sure to keep an eye out for that 1954 penny. Whether it's a perfect specimen or an error coin, this tiny piece of American history could be your ticket to a substantial payday. But remember, condition is key. Always store your coins carefully, and if you think you might have one of these valuable treasures, consider getting it professionally graded. You never know what might be hidden in your change. Top 2, we've got a coin story that might just make you take a second look at those old pennies in your collection or in your spare change. What if I told you that a humble 1-cent coin from 1945 could be worth an eye-popping amount of money? I'm talking about the United States 1-cent coin, more specifically, the 1945 penny. It's a coin that you may not think twice about, but it has a fascinating history and could be sitting on a small fortune. So, let's travel back to 1945. The world was in the final days of World War II, and the United States was at a pivotal point in its history. The war had taken its toll, but there was hope on the horizon, and the nation was beginning to look forward to a post-war world. In this period of change, the U.S. Mint was continuing to produce coins for daily transactions. The 1945 penny was no exception, and just like the rest of the coins at the time, it was made primarily of copper, giving it that distinctive reddish-brown color. At a glance, the 1945 penny looks like any other Lincoln cent. On the obverse, you have the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln, which has been a feature of this coin since its inception in 1909. The reverse side shows the familiar wheat stalks, which is why these coins are often referred to as wheat pennies. The wheat design was used on U.S. pennies from 1909 until 1958, making them a beloved and nostalgic piece of American history. But here's where things get interesting. While the 1945 penny was minted in vast numbers, many of them have not stood the test of time. As with most coins, they were used in everyday transactions, and over the decades, most of them have suffered from wear and tear. The 1945 penny, like most other wheat cents, saw a lot of circulation, meaning it wasn't uncommon to find them in less than perfect condition. So, why are some of these pennies worth so much? It all comes down to the concept of rarity and condition. Like with any collectible, the fewer coins that are in great shape, the more valuable they become. While the U.S. Mint produced millions of 1945 pennies, most of them were used and eventually became worn out. But some of these coins, particularly those that were kept in pristine condition, have become incredibly sought after by collectors. One of the key factors that makes a 1945 penny stand out is its grade. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with higher grades indicating better preservation. A 1945 penny in mint state, or MS condition, is a true gem. These coins were either never circulated or were kept in a protected environment, making them look almost as perfect as the day they were minted. A well-preserved 1945 penny can fetch hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars, depending on its specific condition, but what really pushes the value of the 1945 penny to mind-blowing heights is when it features an error or a rare variant. Error coins, in particular, are highly coveted in the numismatic world. A minor mistake in the minting process, like an off-center strike, a doubled die, or a misaligned die, can turn an otherwise common coin into a rare treasure. These errors are incredibly rare and often make headlines when they surface at auctions. One specific variant of the 1945 penny that has garnered significant attention is the 1945 copper penny. In 1945, the U.S. Mint had already begun using a higher percentage of zinc in its pennies to conserve copper, which was in short supply during the war. However, there was a brief moment when a few 1945 pennies were struck with 100% copper. These are extremely rare and are considered a holy grail for collectors of U.S. coins. If you happen to come across one of these, you might just have a coin that could change your life. So, how much can you expect a 1945 penny to be worth? Well, in general, a 1945 penny in average circulated condition is worth only a few cents. However, a penny in excellent condition can easily command a price of a few $100s. But if you're lucky enough to own a pristine, uncirculated 1945 penny or one with an error, the value can skyrocket. And here's the really jaw-dropping part. One of these rare 1945 pennies was recently sold at auction for a staggering $93,000. That's right, $93,000 for a single 1945 penny. It's incredible to think that a coin that most people would overlook could be worth so much. The value of these coins is driven by their rarity, their condition, and the passion of collectors who are willing to pay top dollar for the most pristine examples or the rarest mint errors. So, if you have any old pennies lying around, especially if you've got some from the 1940s, it might be worth your time to take a closer look. A 1945 penny, in the right condition or with a rare error, could be sitting right under your nose, waiting to bring in a significant payday. Remember, if you find one, don't rush into selling it without getting it properly graded. Coin grading experts can help determine its true value, and it might just be the key to unlocking a fortune. Top 3. Diving into a penny that could be sitting right under your nose in your coin collection or even in your pocket change, a United States 1-cent coin from 1944. Now, you might think, it's just another old penny, what's the big deal? But trust me, when you hear about the hidden value of this coin, you'll start checking every old penny you come across. Let's set the scene. 1944 was a pivotal year in American history. The world was in the midst of World War II, and the United States was contributing heavily to the war effort. Copper, the material typically used to mint pennies, was in short supply due to wartime production needs. So, what did the U.S. Mint do? They made a change in the composition of the 1-cent coin. Instead of the usual copper, the U.S. Mint switched to a mix of zinc and steel, which would later become famous as the steel penny. These were produced in large numbers, but there's one specific variation of the 1944 penny that stands out above the rest. Most of the 1944 pennies you'll come across are made of copper, as the mint returned to its regular composition after the war. However, it's the rare steel pennies from 1944 that catch the attention of collectors and numismatists alike. These steel pennies were accidentally produced in 1944, and the mix-up was relatively short-lived. They were supposed to be made of copper, but due to a shortage of copper at the time, the steel planchets from 1943 were reused by mistake. This tiny error is what makes the 1944 steel penny one of the most sought-after coins in the world. Now, let's take a closer look at the design of this coin. On the obverse, you'll find the classic image of Abraham Lincoln, which has graced the U.S. penny since 1909. The reverse features the iconic wheat stalks, another well-known symbol of the wheat penny series, which was in circulation from 1909 to 1958. These two features alone make the 1944 penny a beloved part of American history, but the mystery of the steel error takes it to another level. You may be wondering, how do I know if my 1944 penny is the valuable steel version or the regular copper one? Well, the first clue is the color. The steel penny has a distinctive silvery, grayish hue compared to the reddish-brown copper version. But here's the catch, only a small number of these steel 1944 pennies were actually produced, so they're extremely rare. You'll likely only find them in collections, auctions, or through specialized dealers. They're hard to come by, but if you're lucky enough to find one, you could be holding a small fortune in your hand. So, what makes this coin so valuable? As with most collectibles, it all comes down to rarity and condition. The more pristine a coin is, the higher its value will be. And for the 1944 steel penny, that means finding one that has been kept in perfect or near perfect condition is a real prize. These coins were only produced in limited numbers and have a relatively short period of circulation, meaning that fewer of them survived the wear and tear of daily life. Over time, most of the steel pennies have corroded or been damaged, making those in good condition incredibly rare. But the story doesn't end there. The 1944 steel penny is considered one of the holy grails for collectors. A well-preserved example of this coin can fetch a substantial amount at auction. Whether it's due to the rarity of the steel version or its connection to the war years, collectors are always on the lookout for this elusive gem. So how much are we talking about? Well, if you've got a 1944 steel penny that's in great condition or even better, one that has been professionally graded, you could see an extraordinary return on your investment. While a typical 1944 copper penny is worth only a few cents, the rare steel version can be worth thousands of dollars. And if you've got a specimen that's in flawless condition, well, that's where the magic happens. In fact, one of the most famous sales of a 1944 steel penny happened not too long ago, where it was auctioned off for a jaw-dropping $95,000. Yes, you heard that right, $95,000 for a single penny. It's a testament to the value that rarity, condition, and historical significance can bring to a coin. So, what should you do if you think you might have one of these rare 1944 steel pennies? First, examine it carefully for that distinctive silvery color. If it seems to be made of steel and not copper, you may have struck gold. But before you get too excited, make sure to get it properly graded by a professional coin grader. They can assess its condition and assign it a grade, which will determine its true value. If you do happen to have a 1944 steel penny that's in great shape or has an unusual minting error, don't let it slip away. With proper care and preservation, it could be the key to unlocking a massive payday. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a newbie just starting out, this little coin holds a big surprise, and that's the incredible story of the United States 1-cent coin from 1944. Who would have thought that a simple penny, made of steel instead of copper, could be worth tens of thousands of dollars? If you've got old pennies lying around, make sure to take a closer look. You might just have a treasure in your hands. Top 4, we're talking about a special coin that might just be hiding in your collection or tucked away in a drawer, a United States 1-cent coin from 1949. This penny might seem like just another piece of old currency, but it's got a surprising value that could make it worth much more than you think. Now, let's step back in time to 1949. It was a fascinating year in American history. The country was post-World War II, and the economy was shifting gears as it moved away from wartime production to peacetime growth. The 1949 penny was produced during this time, and it carries with it a slice of American history. It was a part of the ongoing production of the famous wheat cent, a design that was in circulation from 1909 to 1958. These coins were still being made from copper, which gives them that familiar reddish-brown hue we all recognize. The design itself is timeless. On the obverse side of the coin, you'll find the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, who has been the face of the penny since 1909. On the reverse, you'll see the wheat stalks, a design that makes these coins stand out from the rest. The wheat penny design was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, and it's a piece of art in its own right, symbolizing America's agricultural roots and the nation's dedication to hard work and prosperity. But here's where things get interesting. While the 1949 penny may appear like a simple, everyday coin, its value is tied to its condition and a few key factors that set it apart from the millions of pennies that were minted during the 1940s. So what makes the 1949 penny so valuable? Well, it comes down to rarity, preservation, and a bit of luck. First, let's talk about the condition of these coins. Like most coins, many 1949 pennies were used extensively in circulation. Over time, they were worn down from being passed from hand to hand, from pocket to pocket, and from purse to purse. The majority of these coins are in poor condition, with scratches, wear, and loss of detail. But that's not the case with every 1949 penny. A few, those that have been carefully stored or protected over the years, have survived in exceptional condition. These are the coins that collectors are after, and they can command serious money at auction. But it's not just about how well the coin is preserved, it's also about how rare it is. There were millions of 1949 pennies minted, but only a small fraction of those are still in excellent shape. Some collectors focus on specific types of mint marks, which indicate where the coin was produced. If you have a 1949 penny with the right mint mark, such as the D for Denver or the S for San Francisco, you could have a coin that's more valuable than the typical 1949 penny from Philadelphia. Now, for all you error coin lovers out there, the 1949 penny is also a coin worth keeping an eye on. Errors, as we all know, are what makes certain coins incredibly rare and valuable. Whether it's a misstrike, double die, or any other kind of flaw that happened during the minting process, an error coin is often considered a true find in the world of numismatics. A 1949 penny with a noticeable minting error can fetch significantly more money than a regular penny from that year. So, how much could a 1949 penny really be worth? In typical circulated condition, a 1949 penny is worth just a few cents. But, if you happen to have one that's in excellent, uncirculated condition, or if you've stumbled upon a 1949 penny with a minting error or rare mint mark, the value goes up substantially. In fact, one particularly rare and well-preserved 1949 penny was recently sold for an astonishing $81,000. That's right, $81,000 for a single penny. It's truly mind-blowing when you think about how a simple, everyday coin from 1949 can be worth such an enormous sum. This isn't just a lucky find, it's the result of careful preservation, rarity, and the fact that some collectors are willing to pay top dollar for a coin that represents a piece of American history. So, if you've got a stash of old pennies lying around, make sure to check your 1949 coins. They might not all be worth thousands, but if you've got a gem in pristine condition or one with a rare error, you could be holding a small fortune in your hand. Always remember to get any valuable coins professionally graded if you think they might be worth more than face value. A professional grading service can assess the coin's condition and determine its true market value, which could be much higher than you expected. Top 5. This video is about a coin that could have a much bigger value than you might expect. We're diving into the world of the 1957 United States 1-cent coin, a seemingly simple penny that could hold a surprisingly high price tag. If you have any pennies from the 1950s tucked away, you might want to listen up, because the 1957 penny could be worth way more than face value. Let's set the stage for a moment. The year is 1957, and America was riding high in the post-World War II era. The economy was booming, and the country was in the midst of some major cultural changes. The U.S. Mint was hard at work producing coins to meet the growing demand for currency, and one of the coins they were minting was, of course, the 1-cent coin, also known as the Lincoln penny. At that time, the coin featured the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that had been in place since 1909. On the back, you'll see the iconic wheat stalks that made the coin easily recognizable. The 1957 penny, like many other pennies from the time, was made of copper, which gives it that familiar reddish-brown appearance. But what sets the 1957 penny apart from other years is its connection to the larger history of coin production during the mid-20th century. The 1957 penny was one of the last years the U.S. Mint produced the wheat cent, as the design was changed to the memorial cent in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Now, you might be thinking, okay, it's a 1957 penny. That's cool. But why is it worth so much? Well, here's where things get interesting. While the 1957 penny may have been produced in relatively large quantities, over 1 billion of them were minted, some of these coins were preserved in near-perfect condition. That's the key here. Coins that are in excellent or uncirculated condition can fetch a significantly higher price than those that have been worn down by years of circulation, but it's not just about condition. Some 1957 pennies are incredibly valuable due to their rarity or special features. One of the most important factors that can affect a coin's value is its mint mark. Pennies minted in different locations are often worth more than others. The mint mark on a 1957 penny tells you whether it was produced in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, and certain mint marks can make the coin rarer and more sought after by collectors. For example, the 1957 D, minted in Denver, and 1957 S, minted in San Francisco, varieties are generally more desirable than the 1957 pennies from Philadelphia, which had no mint mark. However, the real goldmine for collectors lies in the rare errors that can occur during the minting process. A 1957 penny with an unusual minting error, such as a double die or off-center strike, can be worth significantly more than a standard issue. These errors occur when the coin is struck multiple times or misaligned during production, creating a unique, one-of-a-kind piece that stands out among other pennies. If you happen to have a 1957 penny with a noticeable error, it could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Now, for the big reveal, how much can a 1957 penny really be worth? In typical circulated condition, a 1957 penny is worth only a few cents, and even in excellent condition, it might only fetch a few dollars. But if you happen to have a 1957 penny in perfect, uncirculated condition, or, even better, one with a rare error or a particularly desirable mint mark, you could be looking at a value of $79,000, yes, that's right, $79,000 for a single 1957 penny. It's mind-blowing to think that a small, everyday coin like this can have such a hefty price tag. It all comes down to rarity, condition, and the demand from collectors who are willing to pay top dollar for a well-preserved or unique example. Whether it's a flawless, uncirculated penny or one with a rare error, this coin can be worth a small fortune in the right hands. So, if you have any old pennies lying around, especially from the 1950s, it might be worth your time to take a closer look. That humble 1957 penny you've been ignoring could be worth far more than you ever thought possible. If you think you have a rare one, don't hesitate to get it professionally graded to determine its true value. Top 6. We're diving into the fascinating world of the 1950 United States 1-cent coin, something that might be sitting right under your nose, waiting to surprise you with its hidden value. So, what makes a 1950 penny so special, and why could it be worth much more than its humble 1 cent? Let's rewind to 1950. America was in the midst of a post-war economic boom, and the U.S. Mint was churning out coins to meet the growing demand for currency. The 1950 penny was part of the well-known wheat cent series, which had been in circulation since 1909. The design featured Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, and on the reverse, the famous wheat stalks that give this penny its iconic look. These wheat pennies have been cherished by collectors for generations, and the 1950 edition is no different. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a penny, so how could it possibly be worth anything significant? Well, here's where things get interesting. The value of a coin doesn't just depend on its age, it's all about its rarity, condition, and sometimes, a bit of luck. The 1950 penny might seem common at first glance, but there are certain factors that could make a 1950 penny worth far more than its 1 cent face value. First, let's talk about how many 1950 pennies were made. The U.S. Mint produced millions of them, so there are a lot of these coins out there. However, as time passes, many of these pennies get damaged from being in circulation. The ones that survive in great condition, untouched by wear and tear, are a rare find and are highly sought after by collectors. A 1950 penny in mint condition could easily stand out from the crowd and draw the attention of serious collectors looking to complete their sets, but wait, there's more. The mint mark on a 1950 penny is a key factor in determining its value. You may notice that some pennies have a small letter on them, typically under the date. This mint mark tells you where the coin was made. A 1950 penny with a D mint mark, indicating it was minted in Denver, is more common than the one with an S mint mark from San Francisco. But here's the real kicker, a 1950 penny without a mint mark, the one from Philadelphia, can be a rare find in itself. This version is less common than you might think, and when found in great condition, it can command a higher price. The real treasure for collectors, though, lies in the rare minting errors that occasionally occur. During the minting process, coins can be struck incorrectly, leading to misprints, double strikes, or other unique flaws. These errors are incredibly valuable because they make the coin one of a kind. If you're lucky enough to come across a 1950 penny with a noticeable error, that coin could easily be worth a small fortune. So, how much could a 1950 penny actually be worth? You might be surprised to know that while most 1950 pennies are worth just a few cents, the rare ones, those in excellent condition or with minting errors, can be worth a whole lot more. In fact, a pristine 1950 penny in uncirculated condition could fetch a price much higher than most people expect. We're talking about a potential value of $86,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $86,000 for a single penny. It's not every day that a coin this small can have such a huge price tag. But this is the reality in the world of rare coins. It's all about finding that perfect example, that one coin that's been preserved in incredible condition, or one that has a rare feature, like an error or a unique mint mark. So, if you've got any old pennies lying around, especially those from the 1950s, it's worth taking a second look. A coin that seems like just a piece of pocket change could turn out to be worth far more than you ever imagined. And if you're fortunate enough to find one in great condition or with a rare feature, you might just be holding onto a small treasure. Top 7. We're diving into a coin that you might not expect to be worth much, but trust me, it could just be hiding in your collection. We're talking about the 1975 United States 1-cent coin. That's right, this humble penny, minted over 4 decades ago, might just be worth far more than its face value. So, what makes this coin so special? Let's break it down. First, let's take a trip back to 1975. The country was in the middle of a decade full of social and political change. The Vietnam War had just ended, and the U.S. was transitioning into the next phase of its modern history. On the coinage front, the U.S. Mint was continuing to produce the Lincoln Memorial Cent, a design that had been in circulation since 1959 to honor Abraham Lincoln. The 1975 penny carries with it the same iconic features that we're familiar with, the portrait of Lincoln on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. At first glance, this penny doesn't seem all that different from others that were produced around the same time. It was made of copper, just like the majority of pennies minted before the shift to the copper-plated zinc variety in 1982. So, what could possibly make this 1975 penny stand out in a sea of millions of other pennies? The answer lies in its condition, rarity, and a little bit of history. Like most coins, the value of a 1975 penny depends on several factors, including how well it's been preserved. Most pennies from this era were used in everyday transactions and show signs of wear, like scratches and fading. However, a 1975 penny in pristine, uncirculated condition is a rare find. Coins that have been carefully stored and maintained over the years, without being tossed around in pockets or through cash registers, are much more valuable, but it's not just about the coin's condition. The 1975 penny also has some unique characteristics that can affect its value. One of the key factors collectors look for is the presence of certain mint marks, which indicate where the coin was produced. The 1975 penny was minted at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If you happen to have a 1975 penny with a mint mark, that could make it more desirable to collectors, especially if it's in excellent condition. However, there's one specific type of 1975 penny that can really take the price up a notch, and that's a rare minting error. Over the years, there have been reports of 1975 pennies that were struck with mistakes during the minting process. Whether it's an off-center strike, double die, or some other flaw, these error coins are incredibly valuable because they're one-of-a-kind pieces. Collectors love minting errors because they make the coin unique, and in some cases, these error coins can sell for thousands of dollars. Now, for the big reveal, just how much can a 1975 penny actually be worth? While the vast majority of 1975 pennies are worth just their face value, 1 cent, if you happen to find one in exceptional condition, or even better, one with a rare minting error, you could be sitting on a small fortune. A pristine, uncirculated 1975 penny could fetch a surprising amount, but one with a minting flaw? You could be looking at a staggering value of $71,000. That's right, $71,000 for a single 1975 penny. It's hard to believe, but in the world of rare coins, this penny can be worth so much more than you might expect. It just goes to show that sometimes, the most ordinary coins can have extraordinary value if they're in the right condition or have that special characteristic that makes them stand out. So, the next time you come across an old penny from 1975, take a moment to really inspect it. You never know, it could be worth far more than you think. If you've got one of these coins lying around in your collection, or if you're just now getting into the world of coin collecting, don't forget to check for those special features. And if you're lucky enough to find a 1975 penny in great shape, or one with a minting error, you could be in for an amazing surprise. Top 8, we're talking about a coin that might not seem like much at first, but could be worth more than you ever imagined: the 1968 United States 1-cent coin. That's right, this seemingly ordinary penny could be sitting in your collection or your spare change jar, and it could be worth a small fortune. So, let's dig into the fascinating world of the 1968 penny and discover what makes it so special. First, let's take a quick trip back to 1968. It was a year of major historical and cultural events in the United States. The country was in the midst of social upheaval, with the civil rights movement gaining momentum and the Vietnam War intensifying. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint was busy producing coins, including the well-known Lincoln Memorial penny, which had been in circulation since 1959. This coin, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, was one of the most widely circulated pennies in American history. But what makes the 1968 penny stand out from the millions of others minted that year? At first glance, it may seem like just another penny, right? Well, not exactly. The key to its value lies in a combination of rarity, condition, and some interesting little details about the coin's production process. While the 1968 penny was minted in relatively large quantities, certain characteristics of this coin can make it more valuable than you might think. One of the main factors that can significantly increase the value of a 1968 penny is its condition. Most pennies from this era saw heavy circulation, meaning they were tossed around, used in countless transactions, and inevitably picked up scratches, dents, and signs of wear. However, coins that have survived in pristine condition, without any visible damage or tarnish, are a rarity. A 1968 penny in mint or near mint condition is incredibly desirable to collectors, and it can fetch a higher price than most people would expect. But it's not just about how well the coin has been preserved. There are also some key details that collectors look for, such as the coin's mint mark. The 1968 penny was produced in 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The coins minted in Denver are typically marked with a D, and those from San Francisco feature an S. Philadelphia minted pennies, however, don't have a mint mark. So, if you've got a 1968 penny without a mint mark, it might be a little rarer than the others, especially if it's in great condition. However, the real jackpot for collectors when it comes to the 1968 penny is the possibility of finding a rare minting error. Over the years, there have been reports of 1968 pennies that were struck with noticeable mistakes during the minting process. These errors could include double dies, off-center strikes, or other imperfections that make the coin stand out from the standard production run. Error coins are highly prized because they are unique and can be worth much more than their face value. If you have a 1968 penny with one of these mistakes, you could be looking at a serious increase in value. Now, for the part you've all been waiting for: how much is a 1968 penny actually worth? While most 1968 pennies are worth only their face value, just 1 cent, there are exceptions. A 1968 penny in excellent, uncirculated condition or one with a rare minting error can be worth much more than that. In fact, a pristine, error-free 1968 penny could fetch a solid price, but if you're lucky enough to find a 1968 penny with an error or in exceptional condition, you could be sitting on something worth a whopping $78,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $78,000 for a single 1968 penny. It might seem unbelievable, but in the world of rare coin collecting, that's exactly what a high-quality 1968 penny with the right characteristics could be worth. The rarity, condition, and any possible minting errors can all contribute to making this seemingly ordinary coin a hidden treasure. So, the next time you come across an old penny, especially from the late 60s, take a second to really examine it. If you've got a 1968 penny tucked away in a jar or sitting in your collection, it might just be worth much more than you ever thought. A well-preserved example, or even better, one with a minting error, could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Top 9, we have a special treat for you, a coin that you might not expect to be worth a fortune, but it could very well be hiding in your collection or your spare change jar right now. We're talking about the 1976 United States 1-cent coin. This seemingly ordinary penny might just have a secret worth thousands of dollars, and we're here to explain why. Let's set the scene. It's 1976, and the United States is celebrating its 200th anniversary of independence. Bicentennial fever is sweeping the nation, and the government gets in on the celebration by issuing special commemorative coins. The 1976 penny was one of the regular circulation coins minted during that year, but it still holds some hidden value for those in the know. While the bicentennial quarter and half dollar got most of the attention, the 1976 1-cent coin is just as interesting and potentially just as valuable, especially if you know what to look for. So, what makes the 1976 penny stand out from other pennies minted that year or in the years before? First, let's talk about the design. As with most pennies, it features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. However, the reverse side of the 1976 penny is the same Lincoln Memorial design that had been in circulation since 1959. While the design itself may not have changed for the 1976 penny, the value can vary significantly based on a few important factors, such as mint marks, condition, and some potential minting errors. One of the things that collectors pay attention to when it comes to the 1976 penny is the mint mark. The U.S. Mint produced these coins in 3 locations that year: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. A coin minted in Philadelphia will have no mint mark, while those minted in Denver carry the D mint mark, and the San Francisco pennies feature the S mint mark. While there isn't a massive difference in value between these mint marks for the 1976 penny, it's still an important detail to keep an eye on. Certain mint marks may be less common than others, and that can make the coin slightly more valuable, but here's where things get even more interesting: minting errors. Over the years, the U.S. Mint has occasionally produced coins with defects, and the 1976 penny is no exception. A common error that collectors look for in the 1976 penny is a double die, where the design is struck twice, creating a slight overlap or doubling of the image. Other potential errors include off-center strikes or planchet issues, where the coin doesn't get fully stamped or is struck at an odd angle. These minting flaws are incredibly rare, but if you happen to come across a 1976 penny with one of these errors, it could significantly boost its value. Now, you're probably wondering, how much can a 1976 penny actually be worth? Well, for most of the coins you come across, they'll be worth only a few cents, as they were made in large quantities and are relatively common. However, when you find a 1976 penny that is in pristine, uncirculated condition, or one that has a unique minting error, things can get much more interesting. A 1976 penny with the right conditions and characteristics could be worth thousands of dollars to the right collector. But, there's one thing we need to mention before we wrap up this video: the rarest and most sought-after examples of the 1976 penny could fetch an astonishing amount of money. If you have a 1976 penny in excellent condition, or even better, one with a rare minting error, you could be looking at a coin worth a jaw-dropping $72,000. Yes, you heard that right, $72,000 for a single penny. It might seem hard to believe, but in the world of rare coins, this can be the reality. A 1976 penny with the right mix of rarity, quality, and error can be a true treasure. So, next time you find a 1976 penny, take a closer look. Whether you've got it in a jar of old coins or just found one in your pocket change, this little coin could be worth far more than you ever imagined. If you think you've got a rare one, it's definitely worth getting it checked out by a professional. You never know, you could be holding onto a piece of history worth tens of thousands of dollars. Top 10 and last rare coin. We've got a coin that may look unassuming at first glance, but trust me, this little penny could be worth far more than you ever imagined. We're talking about the 1953 United States 1-cent coin. It might not be the first coin that comes to mind when you think of valuable pennies, but stick with me, and you'll see why it's one worth keeping an eye on. Let's rewind the clock to 1953. It was a year of great change in America. The Korean War was still underway, the civil rights movement was beginning to gain momentum, and the U.S. Mint was busy producing coins, including the iconic Lincoln Memorial cent. The 1953 penny featured the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, just like the coins we know today. But this penny from the early 50s could be far more significant than your average everyday coin. So, what's the big deal about the 1953 1 cent? Well, the first thing to note is the coin's minting numbers. While many pennies were produced in high quantities, 1953 was an interesting year for the U.S. Mint. The Philadelphia Mint produced more than 500 million pennies that year. However, the Denver and San Francisco mints produced significantly fewer. So, the value of the 1953 penny can vary depending on where it was minted, and a penny from one of these mints could be a little rarer than others. For example, a 1953 penny minted in Denver, marked with a D, is harder to come by in pristine condition. But what truly sets the 1953 penny apart from others is the sheer number of coins that were heavily circulated. Most 1953 pennies are worn down from decades of use, with scratches, fading, and other signs of wear. But if you're lucky enough to find a 1953 penny that's been well preserved, you could have a rare gem on your hands. But it's not just about condition. Collectors are always on the lookout for coins that have unique features, and the 1953 penny is no exception. A number of minting errors could occur during production, making certain 1953 pennies highly sought after. Things like double dies, where the design is struck twice, or off-center strikes, where the coin doesn't get perfectly stamped, can dramatically increase a penny's value. If you find one of these error coins, especially in mint or near mint condition, you could be looking at a major payout. Now, let's talk about value. The vast majority of 1953 pennies, despite being older, are still worth only their face value, or maybe just a few cents above. However, when you find a 1953 penny that's in excellent condition or one with a rare minting error, that's where things get really interesting. Depending on the condition and the rarity of the coin, a 1953 penny can be worth far more than you might think. In fact, if you have a 1953 penny that's been carefully preserved, and it has either a rare mint mark or an error, you could be looking at a coin worth a stunning $85,000. Yes, that's right, $85,000 for a single penny. It's crazy to think that a coin so small, and so seemingly common, could fetch such a high price. But in the world of rare coin collecting, anything is possible when you've got the right combination of rarity, condition, and a bit of luck. So, what's the takeaway from today's video? If you have a 1953 penny in your collection, or if you just happen to stumble upon one in your pocket change, don't write it off as just another old coin. Take a closer look. It might just be worth far more than its 1 cent value. If it's in mint condition, or even better, if it has a rare minting error, you could be holding on to a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed learning about the hidden value of the 1953 penny, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Who knows? Your next coin hunt could lead you to a penny worth a small fortune. Happy collecting!